All right. Good evening, everyone. After such a hot day today, maybe we'll get some payoff by getting some rain in here before the evening's over. The unfortunate part about that is some of that may carry some severe wind, and we will definitely talk about that. I appreciate everyone joining me tonight, and I'm going to give y'all a quick update on what we can expect the rest of the night. Like I said, hopefully it involves some rain. So let's start with current conditions at my house. Temperature is 95. Yes, that's very warm for this time of night. The dew point 77, very oppressive outside. That makes the relative humidity 56%. The wind's out of south at 5. Barometric pressure 29.65 inches is steady. And we have a heat index of 103 at 8:30 in the evening. So that tells you what kind of heat we're dealing with. Now, having said all that, that's actually may go in our favor as far as rain chances go. So let's start out with satellite picture. Yeah, I did want to point something out. We do have, it's technically a cold front, but we do have really, it's more like a moisture discontinuity, if you will, right here. You can kind of see that in the clouds. And especially when the sun was still up, you can see that boundary pretty good. And we just took a little bit of instability to get these storms going. Now, of course, they've been scattered, so not everybody has seen that, but it's definitely enough to kick it off. And you can see some storms up in Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, and of course southwest of Fort Worth. Well, really Fort Worth now, southwest of us, and then we have some storms northeast of us. You can see blowing up pretty good. Now, for most of the evening, I felt like that most of the storms are going to stay south and west of us, but in the last couple of minutes, maybe last 10 minutes or so, we my chances or our chances I feel like are getting a little bit better. So with that, let's just go to the radar here, and we will figure out maybe if that is going to be the case or not. And there we go. All right. So again, remember this continuity line of moisture is somewhere along right here. Well, actually, I take that back. It's really more along here, and of course, these storms have started coming this way. Now, as you can see, the vast majority of the weather, if you will, is in the Fort Worth area. If we put this in motion, you can see that general motion southeast. Now, what has happened is this cluster started in Wise County, Western Denton County has moved southeast, so that's why Fort Worth's gotten the best of the rain, unfortunately for us. However, the one thing I would focus on here, and it's not, it's just not quite as impressive as I want it to be, but these cluster of storms are the ones that, if we were going to get anything here in the Saxe area, Murphy, Wiley, Northeast Garland, Southeast Collin County area, it would be those storms right here. Now, I'm not as optimistic as I once was, probably about 10 minutes ago, for a couple reasons. One is you see these storms kind of splitting off from each other, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But of course, if you happen to be in the town to where the split occurs, then you won't get anything. So it's probably still, let's see how many miles away these things are. You're still talking 17, 16. This one's 20 miles away. So there's still a chance for a lot of things to happen. The worst case scenario would be that these storms, get closer to us and fall apart, which of course we hope doesn't happen. But then again, if Saxe or your house, wherever you may live, happens to be underneath one of them, then you're going to know it, and you're going to be very grateful for that. Now, having said all that, one of the reasons I wanted to come on tonight, just at least for a moment, is that while we definitely want the rain, there is a severe aspect to these storms, as you can tell from the severe thunderstorm warning, the yellow box you see, and that's for very strong winds. So today at my house and really around the Metroplex, we had temperatures anywhere from, it was 105 at my house, but we had temperatures as high as 108, 103. Humidity's been, if you went outside today, the humidity is bad. So a lot of juice in the atmosphere, a lot of heat in the atmosphere, and that's going to contribute to this moisture discontinuity. And so what happens is when you get these very hot temperatures and then you get these thunderstorms that form, as most of you probably know, that these when the thunderstorms form, ultimately the rain cools the air beneath it, and then of course the air spreads out. Well, there's always that violent clash between very cold air and very warm air, and the gusty winds, in some cases over 60 miles an hour, occurs. Now, excuse me, that's you don't want to see that, and nobody wants to see the wind damage. There has been wind damage already out of these storms, and I'm going by memory, but I want to say it was up in this area where they actually saw some damage, some trees uprooted. It's a really strong wind, so that's why I mean this. While we want the rain, it's we don't want the severe winds that come with it. Not really any hail possibilities with this. It's so warm. However, if you were under one of the strongest cores, don't be shocked if you saw some little pea-sized hail, but certainly nothing that would be destructive. Now, again, I want to put this radar in motion again to show you something. So again, out in front of these storms, there's your classic outflow boundary. You may see some storms form along that. And on these storms, you can see that you got this arching motion right here. Now, I think regardless of whether it actually rains in Saxe, Northeast Garland, Wiley, Murphy area, you're definitely going to see some gusty winds, some cooler winds, if you will. But that's what you have to watch out for because, the worst case scenario I would probably tell you is that you get all the wind and no rain. So these storms are, like I said, they're kind of scattered. They're kind of splitting up, if you will. And like I said, if you're underneath one, great. If you're not, then you're not going to get anything. So it definitely bears watching, and I would say within the next hour or so, depending on where you live, you may see some activity. And let's zoom in a little bit here, a little closer, and see what these storms are doing. Like I said, at their current east southeast, I think, like I said, that puts us 30 minutes to an hour, depends on where you're at, where you may see some development, or excuse me, you may see some storms come through your area. Now, if you move up to the north a little bit, you can kind of see these other storms developing. So these are all developing on the outflow of these main storms. So, like I said, if you want to see rain, that's actually good. But the main concern I would have for these storms is that the very high winds with some of them, because you got to equalize that very hot air and that cool air from the storm, and that's how Mother Nature does it, is the very strong winds. So that's the downside of these storms. I don't see any severe thunderstorm warnings right now anywhere else. Now, if these storms right here tend to get stronger, then you probably would see severe thunderstorm warning for the areas east of it, which would include this area right here. But that's a big if, whether that happens or not. So I can't get my period on my question mark. Anyway, so that's something to be watching for. So like I said, the biggest time frame would be to watch out for the next 30 minutes to an hour. Now I did want to show you real quick. I know we looked at the satellite picture before. Again, there's that, but I did want to show you what the Storm Prediction Center thought of our scenario. And as you can see, not in Dallas, Fort Worth proper, but you do see a slight risk of severe thunderstorms north of us. We're in actually Dallas, Fort Worth is in a marginal risk area. So, these storms are going to do what they're going to do and kind of move on out. However, I would just say something to watch out for overnight, which is not a big chance, but it's just something I want to keep everybody aware of, is that there is a cluster of storms, trying to form in the Panhandle, and they would ultimately come this way during overnight hours. Now, is that something that I'd bet the farm on? No, I would not. But it's just something to keep in mind. So if you don't get any rain with these storms that are coming through the next 30 minutes or an hour, then you may get some overnight. Now, having said all that, even if you don't see anything tonight, we have a nice semi-fall cold front coming through the middle of next week. I think our rain chances will increase greatly. So if you miss out tonight, don't fret. You will have another chance Tuesday and Wednesday. So again, let's go back to the radar one more time before I sign off. And like I said, let's see what these guys are doing here real quick. So like I said, you may hear some rumbles of thunder. You may obviously see some high winds, hopefully nothing severe. Again, that's 56 miles an hour or more. But hopefully you'll see some rain. How about that? Like I said, in the next 30 minutes, hour and a half, the further east you are, these will kind of just move on out and be done with it for the night. So bottom line is, next hour or so, watch out for storms in your area. If you happen to be outside, take shelter. They are producing lightning, so don't mess around with that. Number two, you may see some storms overnight if the storms in the Panhandle actually do what they say they're going to do, which there's no guarantee they will. And then thirdly, tomorrow's going to be another hot day. We're going to have another chance for scattered thunderstorms, but the bigger chance of storms will be Tuesday, really starting Monday night, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. So there is hope for that. And the rest of next week will not be 105. I can promise you that. All right, so stay safe out there tonight. Like I said, this is the latest on the severe weather potential for North Texas and specifically Northeast Dallas County. Hope everybody has a good evening. If something crazy happens, I'll be right back here to let you know about it. If not, have a great Saturday evening. And if you're watching a movie, go back to your movie. If there's something else to talk about, I'll let you know. Y'all have a great evening. And as always, I'm watching the weather, so you don't have to. Take care, everybody.